We have not yet begun to cringe. I had a concern that Strange New Worlds was really going to go off the rails in Season 3. You can make the argument, of course, it did in Season 2 with the musical episode, which we're going to get into. But these people seem to delight in ruining these franchises and making them worse by the year. And then they never acknowledge that the ratings are bad. They never acknowledge that the fandom's tuning out. It's to the point now, it's like, do I even make a video about Star Trek? Because nobody's even caring about it anymore. It's really sad. But there's a lot going on right now because they're building a Section 31 special that dovetails out of Discovery with Michelle Yeoh, which, oh my gosh, it's going to be hard to sit through. I don't think anybody wants that. That's going to not do well. And then there's a Starfleet Academy show that's also going to be dovetailing out of Discovery. Like, why? Again, nobody's going to want that or like that either. It's something tough. And their move to the 32nd century with the Discovery and all that, and all these shows being in the 32nd century now, it really screwed everything up. What made the Next Generation work was it was close enough after the original series where they could kind of reference it a little and you could see some familiarity, but it's far enough after they could make some changes. And that's what it made it interesting and fresh. And now, when you go to the 32nd century, when I did my reviews of Discovery, they're referencing stuff that happens in the Next Generation, but the crew came from prior to the Next Generation, so they wouldn't know that. And the people in the 32nd century probably wouldn't have like detailed knowledge of what went on that long ago. I mean, if you look at like what we know about like the 1200s or whatever, 1400s, yeah, we have some Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. But like, not a lot of people out there actually just like know specific things like Christopher Columbus did on a daily basis. I mean, there's a few, but you have to have like extreme experts for that kind of thing. And so it rings false, is what it is. And when you do things like the musical episode or the Lower Decks tie-in episode, it just rings even more false. It really kills the immersion of things. But that's what they're going to do. So let's talk about this in just a moment. My name's John Delarose. I'm a #1 best-selling science fiction author, and I have a Stars Entwined trilogy. If you love Star Trek, you love what it was, grab this. I'm actually building a sequel series out of this, which is actually going to be about space exploration, and I'm going to do it right. So I'm very excited to bring this along. I'm very inspired by like the New Frontier books out of the 90s. Peter David actually did a Star Trek series, which was a lot of fun. I have some problems with it, which I'll get into later in the video as I'm talking about what Alex Kurtzman's saying right now. But yes, check these out. I'll put this in the description below. You'll love it. It's an ebook, print, and audio to make it easy for you. And please hit the like and subscribe button. We've got a great science fiction community here. This is what we cover on the channel, and really appreciate you being here. Okay, so Alex Kurtzman went into an interview and a panel, talks about avoiding fan service. And, it's interesting. Like, yes, I agree with him, but I think that Alex Kurtzman takes it to a different level, which he's not just avoiding fan service. He's avoiding anything the fans would like about Star Trek to begin with. It's a different level. While he talks about avoiding fan service, what he really means is reinventing Star Trek to have his own vision, subverting expectations, right? And it comes out with a bunch of stupid stuff because of that. That's why Discovery just doesn't work. It's stupid on every level. The best thing I saw was Red Letter Media's review of Discovery Season 2, where they actually mocked how it went, and they mocked how like even the fake science was done in it because it just was nonsensical. And that's kind of the problem we have here. This is a great example of this. You see these floating warp nacelles that aren't attached to anything. Now, they're going to explain this in Starfleet Academy, but it just it feels stupid. It looks stupid. It's over the top. It doesn't make any sense. And so their explanation is going to fall flat even though they're going to explain it, right? And that's what he's talking about in the interview here. And as far as fan service goes, look, you don't need to bring in a hologram of Deanna Troi in order to do the fan service. If you look at Lower Decks, they're kind of over the top fan service, right? They reference episodes in every single episode, right? And the reference stuff kind of is painful. Like if you look at Discovery Season 5 again, it was totally a reference to the Progenitors episode of Star Trek Next Generation, and it just didn't work because they took what was one episode of plot and then tried to extend it into 10 episodes of plot to like recreate that plot as they're talking about that plot. It was kind of a fail. New Frontier, I've got the same problem. I'm actually in book 10 and 11 of it right now. And I've noticed like the first 8 books were very standalone. And they explored a new section of space. It was pretty refreshing. A lot of the characters of the ship came from the Next Generation, so they were like episode references. So it was there. That was part of it for sure. But in these new books, like Q shows up, and then whatchamacallit, Scotty is working on Ryza as like a greeter. It's like, you didn't need to put that there. And it does throw you out of the immersion a little bit. So he's right on some level, but the problem is he's not actually doing what the fans want in terms of just making Star Trek what is Star Trek. In fact, they're going to do something completely crazier. Now, we mentioned the musical episode, and I talked about that back when it was coming out. It was super cringy, really tough. I actually thought the Lower Decks like thing was pretty cringy too, bringing in the animation and then turning it into the thing. It really just like, oof. It just throws you out of the immersion of the show, and it doesn't feel like Star Trek at that point. It feels like random people mocking Star Trek, and that's what you've got. You don't have fan service, but you don't even have like something that like is good for the fans at all. And so now they're talking about taking bigger swings than the musical episode. This scares me, and it doesn't scare me. It's like, ugh. Strange New World prides itself on taking big swings, incorporating different styles and genres into episodic format. Season 2 turned that up a notch with a crossover episode, musical episode. Looks like the trend will continue into Season 3. Anson Mount is doing a press release for the show's Emmy campaign, and he talked to Gold Derby about Season 2, asked about the next season. He wouldn't get into how they're going to pick up on the Season 2 Gorn cliffhanger, but he did hype the new season. He says, I think it's not just an exciting season. I think it's just storytelling-wise, development-wise, technically going to be our best season so far. That has a lot to do with even taking bigger swings taken. The musical episode will not be the craziest thing we've done by the end of this. Now, that says a lot because the musical episode's pretty freaking crazy. It is, like I said, it makes a mockery of Star Trek more than anything because it just doesn't feel like you're in a real scenario anymore. It feels like you're in a fake Hollywood contrived scenario. And so if they're going to do more things like this, they're really going to hurt the whole point of Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds was a reaction to Discovery being so bad. People didn't like that serial format where like you had to tell one story over a whole season. It was painful to watch because it was so slowly paced. So they were getting back to, okay, so this is the familiar. We're no longer doing these like weird Klingons that don't look like Klingons. We're not doing this like, jump to the 31st century where everything's unfamiliar and you don't even have Star Trek anymore. We're going to bring it back and just make it like the Enterprise. Spock, you remember Captain Pike. You remember number 1. We'll add a few new characters in. And then we've got the look and feel of Star Trek again. We're going to do singular episodes just based on exploration. And that's what they did for the first season. It was actually decent. Not great, decent. When they got in the second season, they kind of wrecked that to some degree. Getting rid of their Andorian engineer and replacing with this like really obnoxious lady was a tough thing too. That's an aside, but it just didn't work out. Now, what I think is going to actually happen, in my prediction for season 3, is they're going to start pushing into the LGBTQ pride stuff, and that's what he means by this. This is a code for that, and so I've been worried about that during the entirety of Star Trek Strange New Worlds because they really haven't pushed that too much. They had a throwaway line where they implied Nurse Chapel was actually a lesbian dating women, but that was it. They haven't done that. But they've got a couple characters who like look like lesbians, who feel like lesbians, and they've got like Captain Pike and Spock are surrounded by women on the bridge, and so that like. They're just holding it for I don't know why. Now with the like most things, usually you see it like around episode 3 or 4. That's when they start throwing this stuff in there and really wrecking the show and making it unwatchable because of that. You saw it with Discovery big time. You saw it with Star Wars: The Acolyte. And now I think Strange New Worlds was a bait and switch where instead of doing the 3rd episode mic drop where they're going to wreck things for you, they're actually going to do it in the season 3. And so I am going to predict that Season 3 is going to go off the rails with LGBTQ crap and more navel-gazing, about identity and exploring sexuality. I like to say they're exploring Uranus instead of exploring strange new worlds. And that always throws things off the rails for a science fiction program because it's just like it's nonsensical. It's illogical, as Spock would say. So I'm very, very scared by that pronouncement that the musical episode's not going to be the craziest thing in this. I'm very scared that Alex Kurtzman says he's avoiding fan service, in his little drivel that he's talking about Starfleet Academy. It doesn't look well for Star Trek, which is really sad because with Discovery off the air, they kind of have a opportunity here with a blank slate to like really reset things and not upset the fans anymore. But these people can't help themselves. They just need to be wholesale fired and get out of there. And we'll just have to wait for it to collapse for it to happen. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to grab my Oration War trilogy on Amazon in the description below. We'll be back soon.